Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to crank up the volume a bit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're diving into, well, the explosive world of 1980s action cinema. You know, granite-carved heroes, huge explosions.
Those one-liners, right?
Yeah.
The ones you just can't forget.
Exactly.
And the material we've looked at, it really, it gets into why that whole era, the sheer power of it, the characters, why it still hits so hard today.
It's more than just nostalgia, isn't it?
Definitely. There's something else going on with those films.
So our goal today is, well, to unpack that. What were the key ingredients? The essential bits that made them so iconic, so enduring.
And the giants who defined it all.
Right. Who were they? And maybe, just maybe, what can we learn from that whole era? About action, about heroes, maybe even about us.
It's like a plan.
Okay, so let's start there. When you think 80s action flick, what pops out? What were those defining things that really set them apart?
Well, fundamentally, I think it was about putting this hero way up on a pedestal. I mean, these weren't just regular guys caught up in something big that kind of came a bit later, maybe with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, good point.
But mostly, these guys, they just radiated this almost superhuman vibe,
Yeah.
Capability, resilience. Just looking at them, you felt they were invincible.
Exactly. It wasn't just looking tough, it was how they moved. Like raw power. It felt like, I don't know, their muscles were the special effect.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Forget the fancy CGI we have now.
These guys were the spectacle. And there was that weird blurring, wasn't there? Between the actor and the character.
Oh, definitely.
Like, we almost sort of believed they were these huge figures off screen, too.
That's actually a really insightful point. That belief, the audience buying into this almost like mythic status of the actors themselves, it really boosted the impact, made it feel authentic somehow.
Even when things got totally outrageous.
Exactly. Even in the craziest scenarios.
Okay, so, speaking of mythic figures,
Right.
let's get into the big names. Starting with, gotta be, Sylvester Stallone, already huge with Rocky, obviously.
Right.
But then came Rambo, First Blood in '82, and wow, that felt different. A whole new kind of action hero.
Yeah, what's so interesting about Rambo, I think, is how it brought in that archetype. The brooding, misunderstood soldier, especially the Vietnam vet angle, struggling to fit back in.
Right.
Stallone really created this character who was like weighed down by his past, totally pushed to the edge, but underneath, just incredible survival instincts.
Yeah, Rambo really hit a nerve, didn't he? Given, the whole cultural backdrop with Vietnam vets then, he became this symbol.
Of their suffering, yeah, but also their strength.
And you still had Rocky going strong too, right? Fueling that whole underdog, never give up theme.
Absolutely. And the sources we looked at, they really emphasize how those themes, perseverance, overcoming insane odds, they just resonated so deeply with people all through the 80s. Made Stallone consistently compelling.
Okay, then. Boom, Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Terminator, 84. Totally different energy.
Oh, completely. What really stands out with Arnold, initially anyway, was how he just used that sheer physical presence and that delivery.
Oh, the delivery.
So distinctive, almost robotic, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't about the inner turmoil like Stallone often was, not in those early ones. He was just a force.
A force who gave us some of the best lines ever with that amazing deadpan thing. It's wild how his persona changed, though.
You mean like in T2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By Terminator 2 in '91, he's suddenly this protector figure, almost fatherly. That switch really cemented his status, didn't it? Made him appeal to even more people.
That evolution is so key to why he lasted. It showed, maybe surprisingly, some range, let people connect emotionally beyond just the big action scenes.
And his influence goes way beyond movies, too.
Yeah.
Politics, philanthropy.
The sources definitely highlight that broader impact, yeah.
It's funny, too. One source mentioned that "I'll be back," the iconic line. Apparently, it came about because he struggled saying, "I will be back," just a pronunciation thing.
No way. That's amazing. It just goes to show, right, sometimes those little accidents, those limitations
Become legendary.
Totally. And that slightly stiff delivery actually made the Terminator even more effective, more relentless, programmed.
Okay, shifting gears now. Big time. Bruce Willis. Die Hard. 1988. He just blew up the whole idea of what an action hero was.
John McClane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a total game changer. Wasn't ripped like the others, didn't seem indestructible at all.
Right, just a normal cop.
Exactly. Vulnerable, making mistakes, actually bleeding.
Okay.
He was, like the sources say, the ultimate everyman, just dropped into hell.
And the humor, that wry sense of humor, even when things were falling apart around him. So different from the stoic guys.
That constant sarcasm, yeah. And you could see the fear, the pain, but he just kept going. So relatable
And it's still kind of nuts to think he was seen as a weird choice back then.
because of Moonlighting, his comedy background.
Yeah, it just wasn't the typical action star casting.
But that casting, it really signaled a shift, didn't it? Showed that audiences could totally get behind a hero who wasn't a superhero.
Yeah.
Just a normal person pushed way too far.
Made him more compelling, actually.
That vulnerability.
Okay, and then there's Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
He brought this charm, but also this edge, this unpredictability.
Martin Riggs, yeah. He was a fascinating mix, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Charisma, but also this, like, barely contained chaos.
Totally.
He had that intensity walking that fine line.
Yeah.
But you also bought the connection with his partner. He wasn't the stoic type, wasn't the purely funny everyman either. He sort of carved out his own space.
The charmingly unhinged protagonist.
Something like that, yeah.
So, okay, we've got these incredible characters, these iconic actors, but these movies, they weren't made in a vacuum, right? How did the vibe of the 80s, the politics, the culture,
Yeah.
how did that feed into all
Well,
this?
if you look at the bigger picture, the 80s saw this, like resurgence of American patriotism, especially later in the decade. The Cold War was still very much a thing.
You can definitely see that.
Yeah, and you see echoes of it in the really clear-cut good guys versus bad guys narratives you often got. There was also this general feeling of maybe optimism, a celebration of individual strength getting ahead.
That makes sense. These heroes, totally unwavering, always overcoming everything, felt like a mirror to that mood almost.
Precisely. And the sheer spectacle, the crazy explosions, the impossible stunts. Maybe that was a kind of escapism, too.
A distraction from real-world stuff.
Could be. Just larger-than-life entertainment. And don't forget, home video was taking off then, too. VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah. You could watch Rambo again and again.
Exactly. Made these action epics super accessible.
Okay, so we've looked at who they were, the world they came from, what's the lasting impact, why are we still talking about Die Hard and Terminator today?
I think the main takeaway, certainly from what we've read, is that these guys, these stars, they didn't just act in movies. They defined an era of filmmaking. They set up these archetypes, these models for action heroes, and set a whole new bar for on-screen action itself. And that influence, it's still being felt by filmmakers now. Audiences still respond to it.
It's so true. You see traces of McClane or Rambo or the Terminator in so many heroes that came later. That mix, the physicality, the charisma, and yeah, those killer lines.
It's a formula that just works, doesn't it?
Seems like it.
They delivered the big, loud entertainment, absolutely. But they also gave us characters that, people connected with, whether it was the never give up attitude, the humor, or just that sheer willpower. They became cultural reference points.
So next time you rewatch one of these classics, maybe look past the explosions for a second.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate the craft involved, the performances, how these actors really became those roles, and how the films captured something about that specific time.
It really was a time when action was king.
Absolutely.
And hey, if you want to immerse yourself in that vibe again, check out our Movie Night Nostalgia YouTube playlist. We've pulled together some killer moments.
Good idea. Yeah. And maybe something for our listeners to chew on. Think about this. Today's cinema, it's often full of CGI, right? And heroes who are maybe more complex, more deconstructed. So what is it about that straightforward, larger-than-life heroism we saw in the 80s that still grabs us? Why does it still feel so satisfying?
Is it just simpler times, simpler heroes, or is there something fundamental about watching these, titans just smash through impossible odds?
It's definitely something worth thinking about.